The champion had never been taken off his feet. Not once, not in 11 years, not by any of the 206 men he had thrown, choked, or slammed into the canvas of Europe's biggest arenas. Tonight, in front of 20,000 people, he pointed into the crowd and challenged a stranger half his size to prove that Chinese boxing, as he called it, was anything more than a circus trick. He would regret it before the arena lights finished flickering. This is that story. The arena. Berlin, West Germany. The Deutschlandhalle. October 1972. A Saturday night that had been sold out for 6 weeks. 20,000 seats, every one of them filled. The air inside carries the smell of beer, cigarette smoke, and the specific electricity that only a professional wrestling crowd can generate. A noise that rises and falls like weather, cheering one moment, jeering the next, never fully silent. Spotlights sweep the canvas ring at the center of the arena floor. Banners hang from the rafters bearing the names of champions who have wrestled here for decades. This is the cathedral of German catch wrestling, and tonight belongs to its greatest son. Bruce Lee is not supposed to be here at all. He has come to Berlin for 2 days of meetings with a European distributor interested in bringing his films to German cinemas, a stop wedged between Hong Kong and Rome on a punishing travel schedule. His host for the evening, a film promoter named Heinrich Vogel who fancies himself a connoisseur of all combat sports, has insisted that no visit to Berlin is complete without a night at the Deutschlandhalle. Bruce agreed mostly out of politeness. He sits in a reserved section 8 rows back from ringside, wearing a simple black jacket, watching the undercard matches with the same total, unhurried attention he gives everything. Reading the wrestlers' footwork, their leverage, the specific mechanics of throws, he has never had reason to study closely before tonight. He does not expect to be noticed. He is wrong. The champion, Wolfgang der Eisenberg Kessler, is 34 years old, 6'5", 280 pounds arranged into the specific density that only comes from a childhood spent on a Bavarian farm, followed by 2 decades of professional catch wrestling. His shoulders look like they were built to carry timber. His neck disappears entirely into his trapezius. He has held the European Heavyweight Wrestling Championship for 4 consecutive years, a reign built on a technique so effective and so simple that opponents have stopped bothering to prepare specific counters for it. He gets his hands on you, and then it is only a matter of time. His record stands at 206 wins, no defeats, no draws. 61 of those victories came by way of his signature finishing hold, a standing double underhook that lifts opponents entirely off the mat before driving them down with the full weight of his frame. A move German sports journalists nicknamed Der Eisenhammer, the Iron Hammer, and which has ended careers as often as matches. He has wrestled in Vienna, in Zurich, in Milan, in Paris. He has never lost. He has rarely even looked uncertain. Tonight he is defending his title against a capable but overmatched challenger from Hamburg, a match that ends, predictably, in 11 minutes with the Iron Hammer and a pin that draws a full-throated roar from 20,000 throats. Kessler climbs to the top rope, both arms raised, soaking in the noise the way he has soaked in that same noise for 4 years running. This is the part of the evening he enjoys most, not the wrestling itself, which by now requires no more concentration from him than walking, but the 15 minutes afterward, when the crowd is his and the microphone is his, and he can say whatever he likes to 20,000 people who will cheer regardless. The comment. He takes the ring microphone from the announcer, still breathing hard, sweat darkening his singlet. His German rolls out in the booming, theatrical cadence of a man who has given this same kind of speech 100 times before. For years, he tells them, for years undefeated. No man in Europe can put him on his back. Not the Austrians, not the French, not the Russians who came through in '69 thinking their Sambo would trouble him. Nobody. The crowd eats it. This is the show they came for. Then, almost as an aside, almost as a joke, he has decided to try out for the first time. Kessler mentions the newspapers. He has read, he says, about this Chinese film actor everyone is suddenly talking about. The one from Hong Kong. The one the promoter keeps mentioning is somewhere in the building tonight. Kung Fu, they call it. Little men in silk pajamas doing dance moves and calling it fighting. He says the word Tanzen, dancing, and draws out the syllables for the crowd's benefit. He says he would like to see how long any of that dancing survives against a real German grip. Heinrich Vogel, sitting beside Bruce, goes rigid with embarrassment and starts to apologize before Kessler has even finished a sentence. Bruce says nothing. He watches Kessler with the same calm, assessing attention he has given every match tonight. Not offended, not stung, simply reading. Then Kessler does what 20,000 witnesses will describe, in the retellings that spread through Berlin's martial arts clubs for years afterward, as the turning point of the entire evening. He shields his eyes from the spotlight, scanning the crowd with theatrical exaggeration, and asks, half joking, whether the famous kung fu actor everyone keeps talking about is brave enough to stand in front of him for 30 seconds. He says he will not even use a real hold. He says he will simply show them. The way you show a child something obvious. That size is the only truth that has ever mattered in a fight. A section of the crowd near Bruce turns to look. Heinrich, mortified, tries to wave the moment away, tries to signal that they should leave quietly through the side exit before anyone connects the dots. But it is already too late. A cluster of German martial arts students in the fourth row, 3 young men who recognized Bruce the moment he sat down and have spent the last 2 hours trying to work up the courage to approach him, are now on their feet, pointing, shouting his name toward the ring loud enough that it carries. Kessler squints into the lights. He does not know the name. He has never seen the films. But the crowd's sudden roar tells him something has just become very interesting, and interesting is good for business. He crouches at the edge of the ring, extends one enormous hand toward the section, and repeats the invitation directly now, no longer joking, grinning at what he assumes is an easy piece of theater that will make tomorrow's newspapers. Come and see. Zhejian Simiri Rentans. Come, show me your dance. The acceptance. Bruce stands. He does not hurry. He removes his jacket and folds it once, setting it on his seat with the same unhurried care he gives to everything, and begins making his way down through the rows toward the ring. 20,000 people who came expecting a wrestling card are now watching a small, calm man in a plain white shirt walk toward the most feared grappler in Europe, and the arena's noise shifts register. Laughter first, the specific laughter of an audience that believes it already knows how a mismatch will end. Then a slow, uncertain quiet as more of the crowd gets a clear look at the size difference and begins to understand this is actually going to happen. Heinrich catches Bruce's arm at the barricade, whispering urgently that this is not necessary, that Kessler is not joking, that men have left that ring with dislocated shoulders. Bruce's answer is quiet, meant only for him. He said it to 20,000 people. If I say nothing, the silence says something too. He climbs through the ropes. Kessler is still grinning, looking down at him the way a man looks down at a house cat that has wandered onto a hunting trip. Up close, the difference in size is almost absurd. Bruce at 5'7" and 140 pounds, standing across from 280 pounds of German wrestling royalty. Somewhere in the arena, someone laughs loudly enough to be heard over the crowd noise, and for a moment it seems like the whole building might follow. The referee, uncertain what exactly he is refereeing, looks toward Kessler for guidance. Kessler waves him off entirely. This is not a match, he announces to the crowd, savoring the moment. This is a demonstration. He tells Bruce, in accented but functional English, that he will not use the iron hammer, that this is only a friendly grip, that the little man should relax. Bruce's response is a single word, delivered in the same level, unhurried tone he has used all evening. Try. The grip. Kessler steps in and reaches for Bruce's shoulder with his right hand, the same opening grip that has begun 206 victories. A simple collar, time meant to establish control before the real technique even starts. It is not meant to hurt. It is meant to be the first domino. The domino does not fall. Bruce's left hand meets Kessler's forearm the instant it arrives, not blocking with force, but redirecting along its own line. A small rotation of the wrist that sends Kessler's grip sliding past Bruce's shoulder into empty air. Kessler recalibrates, closes distance again, reaches with both hands this time, intending simply to clinch and lift. The setup for the iron hammer that has never failed him. Before his hands close, Bruce has already stepped 45 degrees off the center line, and Kessler's arms wrap around nothing but the space where a man used to be standing. The crowd's laughter thins by half. Something about the way the small man moved did not look like luck. Kessler, mildly annoyed now, drops the theatrics and commits to a real double-leg attempt, lowering his level and driving forward with the full 280 pounds of forward momentum that has ended fights in under a minute against opponents considerably larger than Bruce Lee. This is not showmanship anymore. This is what Kessler actually does, stripped of performance, and it arrives with genuine, dangerous force. Bruce does not retreat from it. He steps into the collapsing distance, which every instinct in the building says is the wrong direction, and as Kessler's head and shoulders drive forward past the point of no return, Bruce's palm meets the side of Kessler's skull with a light, precise redirection, barely more than a touch, but delivered at the exact millisecond where Kessler's own 280 pounds of committed momentum does the rest of the work. Kessler's shoulder drives into the mat instead of Bruce's legs. He rolls through the momentum, recovers his footing in under 2 seconds, a veteran's reflex, and comes up already reaching again, more careful now. Hands lower, weight more centered. The arena is no longer laughing. 20,000 people who came to watch a coronation are now leaning forward, uncertain what they are watching instead. The turn. Kessler tries 3 more times to close the distance. Each time, Bruce is not where the grip expects him to be. Not through speed alone, though the speed is real, but through the specific economy German wrestling has never had to train against. Minimum movement, applied at the exact moment it is needed and not a fraction of a second before or after. On the 4th attempt, Kessler abandons finesse entirely and simply drives forward with his full bulk, arms spread wide, intending to simply engulf the smaller man the way he has engulfed every opponent for 11 years, size itself as the technique. Bruce steps to the outside angle at the last possible instant, and his open hand finds the inside of Kessler's extended right elbow. Not a strike, redirection, applied with the specific leverage that turns 280 pounds of forward force into 280 pounds of forward and downward force. Kessler's balance, already committed fully to a target that is no longer there, has nowhere left to go. His own weight, his own momentum, the very mass that has never failed him in 11 years, becomes the mechanism of his fall. Wolfgang Kessler, Der Eisenberg, 4-time champion, 206 wins, 0 losses, goes down on the canvas of the Deutschland Hall in front of 20,000 people who have never once seen him touch the mat except to pin somebody else. The arena makes a sound it has never made before in this building. Not a cheer, not laughter, a single collective intake of breath from 20,000 throats, followed by absolute silence, the specific silence of a room trying to process something it does not have a category for. Kessler is on his back for perhaps 2 seconds, an eternity for a man who has never experienced it. Before pride and 11 years of training override the shock, and he rolls to his feet in one motion, face red, no longer smiling, no longer performing for the cameras. This is not a demonstration anymore, and both men in the ring understand it completely. The real fight. What happens next lasts perhaps 90 seconds, though everyone in the building will later insist it felt much longer. Kessler, humiliated and furious, abandons every remaining pretense of a friendly grip and attacks in earnest. Real shots, real power, the techniques that have actually won him 206 professional matches. A single leg takedown attempt driven with everything he has. A collar and elbow, time meant to walk Bruce into the ropes and simply overwhelm him with mass. A short, brutal headlock that has snapped lesser men's necks back in genuine pain. Bruce meets none of it with resistance. He is not there when the single leg arrives, having shifted his weight a bare 6 inches at the precise moment Kessler's hands close on empty canvas air. He allows the collar tie to connect, then uses Kessler's own pulling force to accelerate past him rather than fight it, slipping under the bigger man's arm and emerging at his back before Kessler has finished processing that contact was made at all. When the headlock finally lands, genuine contact, genuine German wrestling technique executed correctly. Bruce does not fight the position. He drops his weight fractionally, redirects the angle of Kessler's arm with a small rotation of his own shoulder, and the lock that has ended fights simply fails to close, sliding open like a door that will not stay shut. 20,000 people watch a 4-time undefeated champion throw every genuine weapon in his arsenal at a man 70 pounds lighter, and watch every single one of them arrive at nothing. By the final exchange, Kessler is breathing hard in a way 11 years of professional wrestling has rarely required of him. Bruce's breathing has not changed since he climbed through the ropes. Kessler, desperate now and driven by something closer to disbelief than strategy, lunges forward one final time with both arms extended for a bear hug that has crushed the air out of every opponent unfortunate enough to be caught inside it. Bruce steps inside the reach rather than away from it, the single most counterintuitive response available, and precisely because of that, the one Kessler's body has never been trained to expect. His left hand controls Kessler's extended right arm at the wrist. His right hand rises in a short, controlled arc and stops 1 inch from Kessler's throat, fingers extended, close enough that Kessler can feel the displaced air against his skin. Everyone in the building understands, without needing it explained, that the inch is the only thing standing between Kessler and something considerably worse than a bruised ego. Bruce holds a position for 3 full seconds, long enough for the referee to see it clearly, long enough for the 20,000 people closest to the ring to understand exactly what almost happened, long enough for Kessler himself, chest heaving, eyes wide, to understand it completely. Then Bruce releases, steps back, and lowers his hand. The silence, then the sound. The Dutch Landhall does not know how to react for nearly 10 full seconds. 20,000 people who came to watch their champion's inevitable 5th year of dominance have instead watched him thrown to the mat once and brought to the edge of unconsciousness a second time by a man who never threw a single closed-fist strike, never raised his voice, and never once looked like he was in danger. Kessler stands in the center of the ring, breathing hard, staring at his own open hands as though they belonged to someone else. The silence stretches. Then slowly, he does something that no one in the arena, least of all Kessler himself 20 minutes earlier, could have predicted. He extends his right hand. Bruce takes it. The applause that follows does not sound like the applause for a wrestling finish. It builds slowly, uncertainly. Then all at once, the specific sound of 20,000 people who understand they have just watched something they will spend years trying to describe accurately to people who were not there. The referee, still holding the microphone he forgot he was holding, does not know what result to announce, because there was no formal contest to announce a result for. Kessler solves the problem himself. He takes the microphone from the referee's hand, and in German, translated moments later for the foreign press by Heinrich Vogel, standing at ringside with his mouth still slightly open, he says the only thing that seems adequate to 20,000 witnesses. Ich have gehört. I was wrong. The conversation. They talk for nearly 40 minutes in Kessler's dressing room afterward, Heinrich translating haltingly between them, both men still catching their breath from an exchange that outwardly lasted less than 2 minutes, but that neither of them will fully stop thinking about for years. Kessler wants to understand what happened to his body. Why holes that have worked without exception for 11 years simply failed to close. Why his own strength seemed to work against him at every turn instead of for him. Bruce explains it the way he explains everything, without ego, without unnecessary embellishment. You are strong enough to lift men twice my weight. That strength was never your weakness. Your weakness was that you had never needed anything else. Every technique you own depends on the other man, staying where you expect him to stay. I simply did not stay there. Kessler asks whether the little demonstration, the near miss at his throat, was truly as close as it felt. Bruce answers honestly, close enough that I am glad you understood to stop testing me before I had to find out. There's a long pause. Then Kessler, still sweating, still shirtless, still visibly shaken in a way 20,000 cheering fans an hour earlier would never have believed possible, asks the question that every humble champion in every version of this story eventually asks, would you teach me? Bruce considers this seriously, the way he considers everything. Your foundation is excellent. 11 years built real strength, real conditioning, real instinct for leverage. I am not here to replace that. I am here to tell you that a fighter who has only ever needed one tool eventually meets someone who does not carry that tool at all. Learn to move. Learn to yield instead of only gripping. Everything else you already have. The aftermath. Wolfgang Kessler defends his European title twice more that year and wins both matches decisively. His physical dominance was never in question, and it never disappears. But something in his approach changes in ways longtime followers of German wrestling notice immediately. Less reliance on a single overwhelming grip, more footwork, more willingness to circle and read an opponent before committing his full weight. He never publicly discusses the details of that October night at the Deutschland Hall in interviews, deflecting reporters' questions about the rumored Kung Fu incident with a tight smile and a change of subject. But for the rest of his career he keeps, folded in his gym bag beneath his wrestling boots, a small black and white photograph taken by a ringside photographer that night. The only surviving image of the moment his hand met Bruce Lee's after the demonstration ended. The three martial arts students who first recognized Bruce from the fourth row spend the following weeks telling the story to everyone who will listen. And the story spreads through Berlin's dojos and training halls the way stories like this always spread, gaining detail with each retelling, losing precision, becoming legend faster than it becomes history. Some versions insist Bruce broke Kessler's arm. Some insist the referee had to physically separate them. Neither happened. What actually happened needed no exaggeration to be remarkable. A four-time undefeated champion built like a mountain discovered, in front of 20,000 people who came only to watch him win again. That mass without adaptability is simply weight waiting to be redirected. And a small, calm man in a plain white shirt taught him that lesson without ever needing to make a fist. 20,000 witnesses. 90 seconds of real contact, 1 inch from the champion's throat. That is the difference between a man who has never lost and a man who has never needed to be seen losing at all.